Have scientists discovered the essence of the soul? A strange substance has been observed leaving the body, and instruments have captured what appears to be an aura. You may have seen reports online making such claims. What did scientists really see? Let's look at an image of a man taken at different times. The blue areas are normal, but the green, yellow, and red areas show a special kind of light being released from that body part. These are not infrared images that capture body heat. An infrared image looks different, with most heat concentrated in the midsection. In the experimental photographs, the midsection isn't lit up at all. Instead, the light particles are most visible in the center of the face. In contrast, an image of a deceased person appears completely blue and lifeless. Another example shows a live rat versus a dead one. What is this glowing phenomenon, present in a living being but absent after death, that isn't body heat? This was the exact question that a brilliant Japanese scientist from Tohoku University, Masaki Kobayashi, sought to answer in 2009 with his human light experiment. He had no idea his discovery would revolutionize how we see the world. Many believed this was definitive proof of a soul or consciousness, but Masaki remained unconvinced. What did he know about this light source? The story begins in 1923 in the Soviet Union with Russian biologist Alexander Gurevich. He was studying how cells divide while observing onion roots under a microscope. He noticed that the cells at the root tip seemed to be communicating, sending signals to each other to multiply not through chemical means, but through an instantaneous, invisible signal. He hypothesized that cells emit some invisible radiation, which he named mitogenetic radiation, that signals other cells to multiply. To test this, he designed a clever experiment. He took two onions with roots. The sender onion was in a growing stage. He pointed the root tip of the sender onion at the root of the receiver onion, separating them with a thin piece of quartz glass to prevent any direct contact or chemical signaling. After a few days, he observed the receiver root under the microscope. In the exact area where the sender's root tip had been pointed, cells had multiplied in huge numbers compared to other unexposed areas. Coming just a few years after Einstein's 1905 special theory of relativity, which treated light as fundamental, Gurevich was convinced that this invisible light, or aura, truly existed. He published his findings in a research paper in 1923, causing a wave of excitement from Moscow to Berlin. Gurevich became a rock star overnight as scientists rushed to replicate his experiment. However, a twist emerged. Over the next few years, as over 500 scientists independently tested the claim, the results were mixed. Some saw growth, many saw no difference, and no one found proof of the mysterious light. Critics began to call Gurevich's research fraudulent. Physicist Irving Langmuir labeled it pathological science. Despite this, Gurevich remained 100% convinced of his work, publishing 2 books and pursuing the idea until his death in 1954. He left the responsibility of proving his theory to his daughter, Anna Gurevich. By 1962, technology had advanced. Anna Gurevich got her hands on a special device that could restore her father's legacy, the photon counter multiplier. This device, as its name suggests, counts photons, particles of light, and amplifies the signal. Much like an audio amplifier boosts a weak sound, it can detect extremely low levels of light. Anna placed the device in a dark box in front of plant cells. After some time, the detector began registering light particles. This confirmed Alexander Gurevich's claim. Cells do produce light, but we can't see it because it's in the ultraviolet spectrum, 200 to 300 nanometers. Humans can only see light in the visible spectrum, 380 to 780 nanometers. The detector also showed the number of photons being released was extremely low, just a few photons per square centimeter per second. This discovery reignited interest in Gurevich's work and raised new questions. Does our own body release light? Does this light play a role in our survival or health? Could we measure these light particles to detect hidden illnesses like cancer? Among the intrigued scientists was Fritz Albert Popp, who was researching cancer in the 1970s. Fascinated by Gurevich's work, he named these particles biophotons and called the process ultra-weak photon emission. He claimed these biophotons form coherent patterns, like a laser, to effectively communicate important biological information. Incoherent patterns, like the light from a bulb, are random and inefficient for communication. Popp proposed that DNA acts like a cellular radio, using these coherent biophoton signals to manage growth, repair, and immune responses. He theorized that in cancer cells, this coherent pattern is disturbed, meaning cancer could potentially be detected by studying the light coming from a person's cells. Popp was a charismatic scientist who widely promoted his ideas through books and conferences, linking biophotons to quantum mechanics. He became known as the father of biophotonics. However, his ideas split the scientific community. One group, the believers, was inspired and conducted further research. The other, the disbelievers, argued there must be another explanation for this weak light. This led to a blurring of lines between science and spirituality for decades. Some, like Russian scientist Konstantin Korotkov, claimed to have built a device in the 1990s that could measure a person's biofield, or aura. He claimed this aura, a manifestation of consciousness, slowly leaves the body after death and that the manner of death affects the intensity of the light. Another figure, Masaru Emoto from Japan, claimed that consciousness is universal and even exists in water. He became world famous for his experiments where he exposed water to positive and negative words, claiming that the resulting ice crystals were more symmetrical and healthy when exposed to positivity. While his book, The Hidden Messages in Water, became a bestseller, his work, like Korotkov's, was never peer-reviewed or accepted by the scientific community. The disbelievers had an alternative explanation, an idea that had been developing in parallel since the 1930s. Scientist Alexandra Hollander first suggested that this weak light might be a byproduct of chemical reactions within the cells, a process called chemiluminescence, similar to the bioluminescence seen in fireflies. After the invention of the photomultiplier in the 1950s, American scientists Bernard Strehler and William Arnold rigorously tested this idea on plant cells. They published their peer-reviewed research in the Journal of General Physiology, showing that the light coming from plants was directly proportional to their metabolic activity, specifically photosynthesis. It was clear the light was linked to metabolism. In the 1980s, Japan was at the forefront of optics and photography. It was here that Masaki Kobayashi, a biophysics researcher at Tohoku University and a skeptic of Pop's theories, began his work. He knew that to find the root cause of this light, he needed better imaging technology. In 1999, collaborating with companies like Hamamatsu Photonics, he developed a super-advanced cooled charge-coupled device, CCD camera. This camera was a generational leap. It was cooled to minus 120 degrees Celsius to eliminate thermal noise, could detect single photons with their exact location in space and time, and could create a complete 2D real-time map of photon emissions. Now, scientists could see exactly where, when, and how many photons were being released from a system. With this technology, Kobayashi conducted a historic experiment. He studied the light emanating from the brains of mice. He placed the mice in a dark room in front of the CCD camera and connected them to an EEG to measure electrical activity and a CBF device to measure blood flow and oxygen levels. He found a consistent pattern. Whenever electrical activity or oxygen levels spiked in the brain released more photons. An increase in electrical activity and oxygen consumption means more metabolic activity is occurring. A key byproduct of metabolism is reactive oxygen species ROS. Could ROS be the secret source of the light? Kobayashi suspected that ROS were responsible for the photons. In 2007, he conducted another smart experiment to prove it. He took 2 cowpea plants and infected them with a virus to trigger an allergic reaction, which causes metabolic stress and therefore increases ROS. If ROS were the cause, the photon release should also increase. In one of the plants, he injected a powerful antioxidant, which destroys ROS. The results were definitive. The areas where the allergy was triggered glowed with a spike in photons. The antioxidant reduced the photon intensity by 50 to 80%. He had proved it. Reactive oxygen species are the actual reason we glow. This discovery brought the research back from the world of speculation into the domain of hard, evidence-based science. While it meant we cannot detect a soul, it also meant we could detect deadly diseases. Kobayashi proved that cancer cells, due to their rapid, uncontrolled metabolism, emit 1.5 to 4.7 times more photons than normal cells. This means cancer can be detected at a very early cellular stage, long before a tumor even forms. The applications are limitless. Kobayashi also proved that our body's glow matches our circadian rhythm. We glow more during the day when our metabolism is high. He showed that UV exposure from the sun increases ROS on our skin, causing it to glow more, allowing skin damage to be detected. Allergies, inflammation, and mutations can all be understood by their glow. So, what are ROS? They are highly reactive oxygen-based molecules, often with unstable electrons. Desperate to become stable, they try to steal electrons from vital molecules in our cells like DNA, proteins, and lipids, damaging their structure. This transfer of electrons is what we see as light particles, or photons. However, ROS are not entirely bad. In normal quantities, they perform crucial signaling functions, sending messages for the body to recover, detoxify, and even build muscle after a workout. As Gurwitch first suggested, this light is linked to growth signals. Not literally, with photons carrying messages, but the underlying cause, ROS, is indeed sending these signals. Science is a beautiful journey of discovery, built slowly on a foundation of evidence. The story of biophotons shows how a single discovery can be viewed from many angles. While the mystical theories were captivating, they lacked scientific rigor. The slow, methodical work of scientists like Kobayashi ultimately revealed the truth, a truth that, while less magical, holds the key to saving countless lives.